Hey, everybody, what's up? And welcome into Best on the Board here at The Athletic. Michael Beller and Brandon Funston kicking off this episode for you on Monday, November 15th. Of course, Funston, week 10 of the NFL season still underway. We've got Monday Night Football between the Rams and the 49ers coming our way. But we're going to look ahead to week 11 on this episode of Best on the Board, presented as always by BetMGM. Before we get to that, Funston, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. All things considered, in the Pacific Northwest, with the brand of football being played, I'm still, I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good as well. Unfortunately, we went 0-2 in this space, both of us, last week when we were looking ahead to week 10 early line. So we certainly are looking for a bit of a bounce back in this week 11 episode. And let's get right into it, Funston. Let's get right in. These lines, of course, coming to us from our partners at BetMGM. First game up. You know what? I'm gonna switch up our mojo. I usually defer to you. I'm going to go first. All right. I'm going to go first. Switch it up after an 0-4 combined week. I will get us rolling here with the Panthers -2.5 against the Washington football team. The two games I targeted, Funston, they are both sitting at -2.5. I'm going with the favorites. They're both -2.5 on BetMGM. And I'm targeting that because I think these both ultimately cross the three. So I want to get in on them before they cross that magic number. And we are looking at having to lay more than a field goal to get the favorites. Put simply, Panthers defense has been excellent all season long. I think that Washington's really going to struggle with that. And Cam Newton, he can't be any worse than the quarterback situation that the Panthers have had all season, whether it's been Sam Darnold, PJ Walker for a little bit, Cam Newton at the absolute least, Funston, absolute least. The minimum is that he plays as well as Sam Darnold. And I think realistically, he's going to be a whole lot better than Sam Darnold has been for the Panthers this year. So I think that we see an elevated Carolina offense. You know, they've been in and out of the lineup with Christian McCaffrey. He's now back. He comes back in that win against the Cardinals in week 10 and instantly is doing his thing, both running the ball and catching the ball. Cam Newton adds a completely different dimension once they get in near the goal line. We just haven't seen that really from them this season. That's going to change. We already saw Cam run one in his first game against Arizona. We unleashed Robbie Anderson a little bit, 4 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore gets a little bit better with what Cam can bring to the table for this team. I just think everything lines up for Carolina to be a better team going forward. And now suddenly a 5-5 team, Funston, that is very live in the NFC playoff hunt. I like what Cam Newton does for this team. We love what this defense already has been doing. I think this ultimately is sitting at 3.5 or 4. So I want to get it now while it's still less than a field goal.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad call. Christian McCaffrey, fully healthy, is such a, you feel good about an offense with Christian McCaffrey and it being able to move the ball. I mean, he's so good at it. He's so multiple, versatile, and that allows it. And you mentioned the Carolina Panthers defense. Almost very few exceptions this year have they not been just great.
Yes.
And I think the difference here is Carolina can defend the run, they can defend the pass. Tampa's had trouble defending the pass all year long. We know that they're a good run-stopping unit, but Washington, teams that go up against Tampa, you can throw on them, and so they're not as complete a defense as the Panthers are as well. So I like that call.
Thank you very much. I like your first call as well. Let's dive into it. Big game on the AFC side of the playoff bracket because Bengals and Raiders could easily, I mean, we could ultimately look back at this, Funston, as, one team getting in and one team getting out as a result of who wins this game. It is in Vegas, but you like the road team. Right now, a pick'em spread at BetMGM. What do you like the Bengals?
Yeah, I'm going with kindred teams in the NFL looking for bounce backs, like myself. 0-2 last week. The Bengals have lost their last two as well, but it comes in I think the Raiders have lost their last two as well. But I think this comes down to, I just think the Bengals are a better team right now, and to pick them, I'm going to take the Bengals coming off the bye. You look at what the Raiders have had to deal with, the Henry Ruggs situation, with the John Gruden situation. I think we're finally seeing that kind of start to crumble. Things are starting to crumble a bit. I mean, that Monday night performance or Sunday night performance for the Raiders was rough. And I think it's just kind of getting to the point, a breaking point a little bit. If I'm looking at these two teams, I think the Bengals are the better team right now. They're dealing with less and they're fresher coming off the bye. So when I pick them, you give me the Bengals.
this opening at a pick'em makes me like the Bengals. With the fact that it's in Vegas, the Raiders don't have to travel at all, right? Home against the Chiefs in Week 10, they get to stay home. They don't have to travel, and they're still opening as pick'em line against the Bengals at home. Tells me that the odds makers are feeling the Bengals coming off the bye as well. It'll be interesting to see what if the Bengals come out with anything new, because it's been a different offense throughout the season. It was not a high volume passing offense that we were expecting early on in the year. Then that did start to pick up a little bit right around maybe week 5 or 6. And then we saw that regress again over the more recent term for the Bengals. Obviously, the last time we saw them, they were just getting absolutely annihilated by the Browns in a game that was a big one for Cincinnati. And then the Browns go out and get annihilated by the Patriots. And that just sort of speaks to what the AFC is. It's this whole transitive property loop in the AFC where it's like you could almost say anyone is better than anyone if we can find, the results that are right. I mean, I bet we could actually piece that together. I'm going to maybe take some time this afternoon and find something where it's a perfect loop in the AFC of everyone beating everyone. But the fact that this is a pick'em spread is something that draws me to the Bengals as well. So I like your pick here, and I do think that ultimately it ends up maybe trending in that direction. As I said, for me, 2.5 point favorites are my picks. The other one, Funston, Packers at Vikings, Packers -2.5 in this game. I keep going back to the well with the Packers, and it's mostly paid off for me this season. One of the best against the spread teams all year. It's really been them and the Cowboys that have been kind of bulletproof against the spread this season. We saw it yesterday against the Seahawks, right? You had a Packers team that didn't fully come back offensively, but I think Aaron Rodgers played a little bit better than the stats suggest he did. No touchdowns, 1 interception, but 8 yards per attempt after having a week where he didn't play because of being on the COVID list. It's not a bad comeback game for him. We saw Aaron Jones go down with the injury, but A.J. Dillon can be someone who steps into that role. More importantly, Green Bay defense has looked really, really good over the last few weeks. And I think a lot of us were expecting some regression for this team without Jair Alexander, especially against the pass. And it just hasn't been there. This has been a really good defense for now the balance of the season. And so this is something you'd like to say on our fantasy show a lot, right? When we get to this point of the season, you sort of are what you are. You are what your stats say you are. And the Packers defense stats say it's a pretty damn good defense. And so even though I like the Vikings a lot, I like what the Vikings do offensively, I think the Packers can keep them in check enough to the point that the better team ultimately wins out. And again, this comes down to, for me, wanting to get in on the Packers while I can with this less than a field goal. The moment this goes to 3 or 3.5, I'm probably not interested, Funston. I'm probably looking to the total instead if I'm going to play this game. But as long as I can get the Packers at less than 3, I feel pretty good about getting that.
Yeah, I think this is actually going to be a close game. I don't think your pick is crazy. I think I can see the Packers winning by 3, but I think it's what it's going to come down to. And if you look at you mentioned that Green Bay has been a lot better on defense. They're going to have to shut down Dalvin Cook because I think Minnesota is going to try very hard to make that be what the game is all about. And then Green Bay, without Aaron Jones, you like A.J. Dillon, but Aaron Jones makes some great plays in the passing game, and that's taken away. So now you're really, with no Robert Tonyan, you don't really have a established number 2. So I think, weirdly, this is going to be probably A.J. Dillon versus Dalvin Cook, and who does a better job of limiting that. And, of course, I would rather bet on Aaron Rodgers making a big play than Kirk Cousins. Nothing against Kirk Cousins, who's been very good, but yeah, I think this will be this is probably going to be something where I'd be interested in the under on the overall game score, but I can see the Packers pulling out a 3-point victory here.
49.5 is the total on this one right now over at BetMGM, which feels fair. That's why I said if it crosses the 3, then I probably look to the total, and it doesn't mean I'm going to bet the total, but it's where I would get interested because I like. 2 good teams, one I think very good team, one team in Minnesota that I think is better than their record suggests they are just because of how bankable they are offensively. Like they do what they do very well most every week on offense. And so I like that about this Minnesota team. But this is all about getting the better team at less than a field goal. I really don't care about the location of the game on this one. One more pick, this one coming from you. We've got the Eagles coming off an impressive victory against the Broncos in Week 10. The Saints, meanwhile, 2 straight losses that pushed them back into that group in the NFC with teams like Minnesota, like Carolina. Saints 1.5 point dogs in Philadelphia. You are riding that road dog. Let's hear why.
Yeah, you look at the Saints. They've lost 2 in a row, but they're by 2 points. Before that, they beat Tampa. They need to get back into this. They go into Philadelphia. Philadelphia's 0-4 at home, and so it's just a win-loss record. So it's not like a slam dunk, huge home field advantage for the Eagles. But I think what worries me is the Eagles' new identity is running the football. They ran the ball 40 times this last week. The Saints give up 2.8 yards per carry to the running back position. No one runs against the Saints. So what do you have to do to win this game? I think you have to end up trusting in Jalen Hurts in the passing game to get it done. And, that's where I get a little bit concerned about the Eagles in general. So I like the way that, the Saints defense is legit. I think offensively they can do enough to get, they're the dogs. So I mean, I actually think they're a pretty decent pick, as this is a straight money line pick.
Yeah,
but I'll take the point, as well. So give me the Saints to get back into things here, get off the schneid after losing 2 in a row, 2 very close games.
Let me devil's advocate this for a second, and it really is devil's advocate. This is a pretty easy stay away from me, but you said that the Saints allow 2.8 yards per carry to the running back position. We know that part of the Eagles' success running the ball is Jalen Hurts. That doesn't scare you off it at all?
Yeah, but you know what? Jalen Hurts, in the kind of offense I imagine they're going to have to play, that was a shaky deal for the Eagles offense in general. You can give up plays to Jalen Hurts in the running game, but it means he's dropping back to pass, which is what I think you want. You get Jalen Hurts to throw higher volume, you're going to get mistakes along the way. He's still at that point in his career. Although I will say he's looking better, but a lot of that has to do with this change in the offense and teams starting to, kind of expect the run, and then you play off of that. But if you can shut down the run, I would rather give up 50, 60 yards to Jalen Hurts on the ground if I know that means he's going to throw the ball more.
Saints and Eagles plus 1.5 here. Funston, your second pick of the show for best on the board as we look ahead to Week 11 lines. That's going to wrap up the NFL segment here, the NFL portion of this episode of Best on the Board. Funston, good luck, man. I'll be talking to you soon.
Gotta get off the schneid.
I feel like it maybe is coming for you this week. Hopefully it's coming for both of us. We'll talk NBA here in a second, but first, of course, BetMGM, the presenting sponsor of Best on the Board at The Athletic. Right now, a great deal out there for you at BetMGM. Bet $10 to win $200, plus get a free year-long subscription to The Athletic. Just go to betmgm.com/TA-best. This is any bet, whatever it is. Anything you want to do, any sport you want to do, it's bet 10 to win 200, plus get that free year-long subscription to The Athletic at betmgm.com/TA-best. Do it now to take advantage of this offer from the king of sportsbooks. It is a new customer offer over at BetMGM. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's flip things over to the NBA side of the equation. Tess Melas joining me now. Tess, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Michael. Coming off a 2-0 week, feeling good.
Yes, not a 2-0 week for you, a 2-0 week for me. Me and Funston were just crying about how we did in the NFL last week on this show, but hey, 4-0 on the NBA side of things, so that definitely a good feeling. You're up at 4-2 on the season for your picks. I am at 2-2. We've got a couple of picks here for you today. You've got 2. I've got 1. You're taking a trip on the road. Both teams here back in on the road today. Let's start out with Celtics and Cavs. Celtics 2.5-point favorites in Cleveland on BetMGM. Let's hear why you like the Celtics in this one.
Well, the 2-game baseball series are back this year, and this is the second half of the old 2-gamer for the Celtics and the Cavs. Now, the Cavs were able to win Game 1. They came back from 19 points down on Saturday night. In the third quarter, it was a desperation fourth quarter, and the Celtics don't play with desperation this year, so I'm a little reluctant to back them here. But with the Cleveland Cavaliers, even though they are my second favorite team this season, they are desperate for scoring in the backcourt. Ricky Rubio has been struggling since he had his career high in Madison Square Garden, and they are missing Colin Sexton in their backcourt. He is out for a month, and they seem to be struggling there through 3 quarters, and somehow they turned it around in the fourth. But I go back to my old thought process that these 2-game baseball series are usually splits, and I think the Celtics match up pretty well against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and their effort level isn't there each and every night, but after a loss, I do expect it to come back. I do expect Robert Williams to play Jared Allen pretty well. I do expect Jason Tatum to have a far better night than he had on Saturday night, shooting 8 of 22. You might say the same for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who didn't have a great shooting night. But I think the Celtics match up well, and I think they do win this game in Cleveland.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more bankability on Boston side when you're looking for a bounce back shooting the ball with what they've got to offer rather than what Cleveland's got here. So we can lock that in. Celtics -2.5 at the Cavs. I'm going to go to a total for my one play. Bulls and Lakers getting together in LA. 216.5 is the total on this one at BetMGM. I'm going to say this one goes under TAS, and I'm really just playing the fact that these two teams have been playing quite a bit of late. The Bulls coming off a win against the Clippers in LA last night. This is their third and fourth in a back-to-back. It's the Lakers' third in 4 games and also coming off a back-to-back. I just worry about the legs being under these teams fully to get to the 217 that would cause me to lose this one. That's really the point here for me, is the fact that these teams have been playing so much. Then you add in the fact that the Bulls have been a very strong perimeter defense team on the season. I think you put those two things together and you can get something along the lines of what we saw from the Bulls last night, a 190 victory over the Clippers. I think this game is more something in the high 190s, low 200s, rather than pushing up against 216.5. So that's why I like this one to go under. No strong feel for the line in this one, which as at my last check was Bulls -1.5 against the Lakers here. But I do think that with the activity that both of these teams have had of late, it's something that stays under that number.
Let me play devil's advocate for you, like you did with Funston there. I do worry about Anthony Davis going off against this Bulls front line without Vucevic, who is out for an extended period of time, and the Lakers showing that they're willing to send DeAndre Jordan, their center, to the bench in their last game against the San Antonio Spurs and put Anthony Davis at the 5, where he is weaponized, where no one in the NBA can stop him. So that's a bit of a worry. But on the other side, the Bulls starting Alex Caruso now because of the Vucevic injury, and so they're willing to put their best defense forward to start a game. Now, you're right, 3 games in 4 nights for the Bulls. Caruso played 39 minutes yesterday. They really went all out. It's hard to say that the tired legs can hurt the offense for sure. They can also hurt the defense.
Absolutely.
So it's a good. I do think the Lakers shooting will be down though, just because AD did play a lot of minutes. So I'm with you. I would go under if I had to go with one. And the Bulls defense, it's going to be relentless. Alex Caruso playing his old team for the first time.
Yeah, revenge game.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. Lonzo Ball as well, playing his old team, 2 teams ago. But I think that backcourt will be ready to have a good defensive game.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Anthony Davis point. That's going to be a challenge for the Bulls until Vucevic is back. I mean, it's going to be something that we talk about a lot with this team. How do they stand up to any strong interior scoring? It's going to be something that really challenges Billy Donovan, going to be something that challenges this team's rotations. But again, I'm just playing the rest game, and that the fact that I will make the bet that it hurts the offenses more than it hurts the defense is the fact that both of these teams are on the second night of a back-to-back and 3 in 4. One more pick for the show, Tass. Pelicans and Wizards. Pels 4.5-point dogs in DC. Let's hear the case for the Pelicans.
The New Orleans Pelicans are 2-12. The Washington Wizards are 9-3. And so this seems like an easy play for the Washington Wizards, but I think the Pelicans have a couple things going for them. First of all, their 2-12 record has been without Zion Williamson entirely and without Brandon Ingram for the most part. But he came back on Saturday night. He had a really good game, and that's why the Pelicans got their second win of the season. So 4.5 points is a nice little buffer for me because the Pelicans have gone into fourth quarters with the lead. Even midway through the fourth quarter, they have been leading games only to be blown out at the end of it. But with Brandon Ingram on their side, who didn't even have an incredible game for him on Saturday night, I think he'll only get better. They can close out games. And the Washington Wizards on the other side don't have their best player, Bradley Beal, out for personal reasons tonight. Now they can get by because they are, to me, a little bit like the Pelicans without their stars. They are just very solid, and I know that the Pelicans haven't been playing solid. I still do believe in this roster to some degree. The Wizards are playing extremely well, with their supporting cast, with their recycled Lakers players that they got for the Russell Westbrook trade. But I think the 4.5 points is it's maybe me playing on this 2-0 run I had last week a little bit. But I don't think the Wiz should be only 4.5-point favorites. The Wiz should be larger favorites in this game. And I know I'm reading into the lines again, but I think the Pels can keep it close. And the record says they won't because they're 2-12, but I think they are better than that.
As I think the point you made about the fact that, Brandon Ingram obviously changes everything for this team, changes everything in the first quarter, changes everything, most importantly, in the fourth there with having a closer, having a guy who you can go give the ball to and get a bucket. So no Brandon Bradley Beal on one side. Yes, Brandon Ingram on the other side. 4.5 feels like a fair number. I don't think it's a crazy number, but also the side that I would come down on if I were going to make a play in this game. So something to keep an eye on as we get all
3-0. Here we go, Michael.
3-0. 3-0. Let's keep it rolling. 4-0 last week, 3-0 this week, 7-0 for 2 weeks. And then I feel like the Athletic has to let us retire then at that point. That ends up being the case. That's how this works. It's at least how it should work, I think. But something that we'll be watching, of course, all night tonight. Thank you for being with us on this episode of Best on the Board. For Tass Melas, Brandon Funston, I am Michael Beller. We are back with you on Thursday, taking a look at Week 12 of the college football season. Until then, thanks for joining with us. And as always, happy betting. We'll talk to you soon.